Is there anything heavier than failure? Yes. It's the pride of pretending that everything is still fine, when your heart knows it's not. Sometimes life puts you face to face with a choice that hurts your ego but heals your soul. Going back to a smaller job, accepting a position that seems below what you once were, may bruise your pride, but it can also be the first step toward rebuilding your financial freedom after 40. Maybe you know that feeling well. You once had a good position, a solid salary, maybe even an office with a view. People respected you, your name carried weight. But life changes, and it doesn't always ask permission. Then came the crisis, unemployment, divorce, debt. Time passed, and you realized the world is no longer the same. The market became more digital, younger, faster, and suddenly an opportunity appears. A smaller job, a lower salary. Deep down, something tells you it would be wise to accept. But pride whispers, you can't. Shame speaks louder. It says that going back would mean admitting defeat. But is that really true? Or is starting over the most noble act of someone who refuses to give up? Shame is a treacherous emotion. On David Hawkins's scale of consciousness, it vibrates at one of the lowest frequencies, the frequency of paralysis. It makes you feel unworthy, small, invisible. And when we carry shame about our financial life, we create an invisible block in the flow of prosperity. Money, energetically, doesn't move where shame exists. It needs space, movement, lightness. And shame is exactly the opposite. It's the weight that dams the river. Science explains that the feeling of shame activates the same areas of the brain related to physical pain. In other words, feeling shame literally hurts. That's why so many people prefer the burden of debt to the humility of a fresh start. The mind creates stories. They'll laugh at me. My friends will think I failed. I don't deserve to start from the bottom. And these narratives become invisible prisons. Take the example of John Miller, 54. He was a marketing manager at a multinational company until he was laid off during a restructuring. For months, he refused smaller offers. He told himself he was waiting for the right opportunity. In truth, he was waiting for his pride to shrink. Then one day, he accepted a junior position at a startup with a salary 60% lower. In the beginning, it was painful. His ego screamed, but he persisted. And within 2 years, he was leading a team again with more maturity, empathy, and purpose. John didn't go backward. He simply bent low enough to gain momentum. That's reconstruction without ego. Another case is Susan Adams, 49, a former financial director who had to work as an assistant in a small family business. She used to cry in her car before walking into the office, but the experience taught her humility, adaptability, and collaboration. 2 years later, she opened her own financial coaching firm for women in career transition. Today, Susan speaks at conferences on topics like prosperity for women and helps others rediscover abundance in complex phases of life without the fear of seeming less. These examples show that what we call smaller is only a matter of perspective. In a mature financial life, the size of the position doesn't define the size of the wisdom. True success isn't about climbing higher, it's about staying whole, even when you have to step down a few stairs. Because wealth in maturity comes from the ability to keep moving, even when life forces you to recalculate the route. The shame of starting over causes more damage than you might imagine. First, it isolates you. It makes you avoid friends, contacts, and opportunities. Second, it paralyzes you. While pride tries to preserve an old image, time moves forward and the market evolves. Third, it sabotages your focus. The energy that could be used to rebuild is spent trying to hide what happened. And fourth, it delays your prosperity. No plan for prosperity after 40 works, if the ego is the one driving. But there's a beautiful side to all of this. When you decide to overcome shame, something extraordinary happens. You begin to reconnect with what's real. Reconstruction without ego is the rebirth of consciousness. It's when you finally understand that your job doesn't define your worth, it expresses your purpose. That money is a consequence of flow, not a proof of status. That to prosper is much more about sustaining peace than displaying power. Humanistic psychology talks about a flexible self-concept, the ability to embrace new experiences without falling apart. That's exactly what happens when a person at 40, 50, or 60 chooses to start over. They're not shrinking, they're expanding. They're freeing themselves from an identity that no longer fits. Ask yourself, what is really smaller? A position that pays less but brings back your peace, or a fancy title that costs your emotional health? Those who live for appearances waste too much energy trying to prove what they no longer feel. But those who choose authenticity naturally attract abundance. Success is the result of small, consistent improvements. That philosophy applies perfectly to anyone rebuilding their life. Sometimes a new beginning comes disguised as a setback, but it's only a phase of realignment. You're planting new roots, and whoever plants in fertile soil will eventually harvest stability. Prosperity after 40 is born from the balance between wisdom and humility. Wisdom reminds you of what you've lived. Humility opens you to what you can still learn. In that combination lies true financial independence and maturity, not built on status, but on purpose, freedom, and inner peace. It's time to redefine what we call smaller. The job that seems small may be the very ground where you rebuild your confidence, restore your financial stability, and rediscover the joy of being useful. No work is unworthy when it's done with awareness. What's truly unworthy is living as a prisoner of the fear of judgment. Remember, success is not a straight line. It's a spiral. Sometimes you need to step down to clearly see the next step up. A mature financial life demands emotional flexibility, and those who understand that live with more lightness, abundance, and prosperity. If you're in this moment of transition, don't fight what is. Accept it. Breathe. Allow yourself to learn. What feels like humiliation today might be the foundation of your new empire tomorrow. Starting over is not going backward. It's realigning yourself with your purpose. And if someone judges you, remember, those who judge don't pay your bills, don't feel your fears, and don't walk your path. Starting over takes courage, and courage is the first sign of prosperity. The ego seeks recognition, but the soul seeks fulfillment. And when you choose the soul, the universe responds with opportunities that pride could never see. Financial freedom after 40 begins with a simple gesture. Bowing your head, not in defeat, but in wisdom. It's in that gesture that life begins to flow again. And money, which once seemed distant, starts to circulate once more. Because now it finds a heart light enough to receive it. So if life has invited you to start again, accept it. If it's calling you towards something that seems smaller, go. You're not going backward. You're recalibrating the path for a more solid, more conscious, more authentic financial growth after 40. Don't be ashamed to start over. Be proud that you didn't give up. Because the world doesn't belong to those who never fall, but to those who always rise, without ego, but with faith. If this content resonated with you, take the next step. Check out the link I left below in the comments. And if this message helped you, give it a like, share it, leave your comment, and don't forget to subscribe with the bell on.